Hello, good-looking people, as well as, that's right, the people who look good. My name is Mark Major. I'm a real big toy collector here in Southeast Portland. Also a studio owner who does a lot of sales and marketing, long time in the field of sales and marketing. And today we're going to be doing another marketing analysis of a Kickstarter. This is one that I've been waiting for a bit to just see what they came up with. This is Patriot Force. It is a line of 1/12 scale modern military figures. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking G.I. Joe Classifieds, Valaverse Action Force, maybe even Monster Force. I'm thinking that as well. And so we're going to take that into account when we look at this campaign. Of course, we're going to put it through our very objective best practices and see how it holds up, but we're also going to maybe take a little bit of personal opinion and chat about it just a bit at the end, because it's always worth putting in your own little kind of stamp of opinion on something. So, you know, guys, come together, strap on the leather, hold on tight. I think we should just jump into this. What say you guys? Let's cue it up here. Here we go. Going on the Kickstarter. It's just like that. So it's called Patriot Force. They're trying to get $96,000. I have said in the past that to get basically a mold for a single buck costs, approaching $100,000. So this seems about right for the ask. And in fact, they might actually need a little bit more than that, but maybe they have some private funds, or maybe they just think that they're going to shoot past it and they'll be okay. Basically, let's take a look at what they got going. When we go to the campaign here, here's their little diagram of how the articulation, how it explodes. They've got these 4 figures that they're coming out with. Basically, it's a buck, and what they do is they repaint the buck and put a different head on, and then, of course, these guys all come with a different sort of collection of kit, and some of these pieces are reuses. Looks like the belts are reused, and some of the vest pieces are reused. Maybe some of the helmets are reused. And of course, there's going to be unlocks. They're going to be giving you more and more different figures from different branches of the military. We get to see some pictures of what some, other than 3D renders, what some 3D prints look like, and what some of the paint apps on it look like, some of the deco, etc. You get to see photos of what these guys are based off of. Of course, more and more unlocks. There's eventually get down to some undercover guys. See, because this is actually a mask that this guy wears, so he can go undercover. And there's going to be some extra accessories, and there's also going to be some bad guys, insurgents, and they look kind of cool too, but they're a different buck, and so that's quite a bit to get up to them. All right, let's go. I think you guys get it. And I don't know that we really need to play the video. I'm going to keep the sound off, but you can see that basically what it is, and this is their logo. It's an eagle with 2 machine guns. It's kind of cool. Let me turn that a little bit. It's, it's soldiers, modern military soldiers, based upon actual living people, as you can see there, because they had their actual photos up, and some people that they weren't allowed to show, they had them censored out. So here's what you can get. The cheapest thing, if you want just to support this thing and buy the patch, the little embroidered patch of their logo, the eagle with the machine guns, $9. Otherwise, an action figure, any one of these guys is $34. Sniper, Ranger Sniper, SEAL Sniper, Marine Raider, SEAL Operator. And then there's a mystery figure you can pay for a future unlock, assuming you get one. Assuming they unlock it. And then, of course, they've got some bundles. You can buy bundles of 4. You get like $4 off. Bundles of 8, I think you get like $12 off. You can get 16, 24, 96, 300. Those are probably going to be so that the big bad toy store types, or some other, maybe there's a sugar daddy out there, some sort of high roller who's just, I'm going to buy 300 of these and give them out to kids or something. Who knows? Maybe the military Maybe the United States military, they've got trillions of dollars. I'm sure they could buy a few of these. Which, by the way, I should make a point that the U.S. Army has done action figures, at least in the 3.75 scale. They're usually pretty cheap, of course. I think it's kind of a recruiter program is probably part of their marketing. And you can find those U.S. Army action figures. They're usually at your Costco's and those kind of places. Those sort of, probably in the Midwest. Find a lot of that stuff. There is also, I should point out, for an add-on for $4. You can't get it by its own, but as an add-on, you can get the logo as a sticker. Just have to point that out. We're going to get back to that later. Okay, so let's get to our 3 best practices as decided by me. These are the Mark Major 3 best practices. When I studied a bunch of successful campaigns, this is what we found out. Now, there's more than 3 best practices, but these are the 3 main guys that you stick with. And it doesn't mean that it's not going to fund if you don't do these 3 practices. It doesn't mean that your campaign's a lemon. Also, if you do follow these 3 practices, you still got to make a product that has demand. You still got to make something that people want. Just coming up with the 3 practices and making a thing that's garbage isn't enough. But we found that if you did these 3 things, you had a much bigger campaign in terms of the money you brought in. Money. Okay, so the first thing, super simple. 3-tier pricing. Basically, you have something standard that's cheap. You have something in the middle that's deluxe for people who they want more, they're willing to spend more if they get more. And then you always have a luxury item, some sort of expensive big dog at the top whose sole purpose there is to collect money from people who are rich, okay? And maybe that might be something that gets unlocked. You don't necessarily know that you have to launch with that, right? But it's a thing that if you have it, you make money. Second thing, wider selection, higher sales. If you've got more things to sell, there's more things to buy. It's very simple, very simple. And then the last thing is really that you want to consolidate all of your sales material on the Kickstarter page. There's no point in like having some stuff on Facebook, having some stuff on YouTube, having some stuff on Instagram. Not that you wouldn't put your marketing on there. You want to put your marketing everywhere. But if somebody gets tipped off, they follow a link from somewhere and they go to your Kickstarter page and there's stuff missing, it just means that you're losing sales, that people are going to click off it and they're not going to go hunting. So if we look at Patriot Force, they have basically 4 guys that come in at $34. I would say a standard figure in this day and age could be anywhere from $15, which we have seen. The Savage Crucible did it. All the way up to, I would say, $25. And so $20 is probably the sweet spot on a standard guy, which means they do not have a standard. $34, I'd say, is kind of the low deluxe range. I'd put a deluxe figure at about $40-$45, and that would come with heads and weapons and hands and all sorts of stuff. And then a luxury figure would be something like $60, $65, $70, and it would probably be bigger, and it would have, gold or something like that. So these guys do not have something cheap. They do not have something expensive. They're just offering a sort of deluxe figure. And in my opinion, at $34, I feel it's a bit of a budget deluxe. So if you're somebody who is going to buy a deluxe figure, then these are a good deal. So I'm going to say right there that is a positive point for them. But they do not have that cheap thing, because there's a lot of people out there who want to support your campaigns, but they need some way, they don't want to buy in at something expensive. Not that nowadays, like if you go out to like a food cart or something, like a burrito's $11, and so going from $20 to $34 for a figure is not really that big of a leap, but that's what the show is all about. It's all about marketing. It's all about capturing people. And the more people you capture, the more money you make. So I'm going to have to ding them a little bit on that. As far as the variety goes, remember, if you have standard, deluxe, luxury, you want 4 at the base for your standard, 2 for your deluxe, 1 for your luxury, and kind of scale like that. They've only got the 4 figures, and you know what? 2 of them are snipers, okay? But they are, 2 guys are Navy SEALs, so the variety is not as big as it could be. I feel that here's an opinion coming out, I feel that if they were to do just 4 guys, because remember, they only have $1 that they're going to try to get with about $100,000 and do repaints on that $1. I feel you should try and have as much variety between the 4 guys as you can. Don't have them be sort of this, sort of that, meaning like go as far varieties, like make an Arctic guy, make a desert guy, right? Make a jungle guy, and then maybe make an office guy. He's a pencil pusher or something. That's a bit of a joke, but you get my point. You spread them out. And, they've said in the comments that if they get some unlocks, that they've got more different services coming. The Air Force, and they've got some, other guys, maybe the Coast Guard, don't know, whatever. My point is, like, if you can only do 4 guys, if that's all you're going to do, you got to make them as totally variety as you can. No matter what you can do, you got to try to just keep them as far apart as you possibly can. There's no point in having a couple snipers, no point in having a couple SEALs, Navy SEALs, that kind of thing. So the variety is not great. It's not, but they do have variety. It's not like they're just selling one figure. At least they got 4 different guys, and, could be worse. Then there is pretty good if you go to their marketing, and as far as consolidation goes, I like everything that I see here. They've got 3D renders of stuff. They've got show you what all accessories are included with these guys. They do have 3D prints that are painted up, and they have what I call the beauty shot, which is they actually went on their way and take a nice photo, which you can do with an iPhone these days, of some sort of environment. I think that this looks like it's probably somebody's diorama. Maybe this is real rock. Don't know. That means that's a good sign. If I can't tell, then that's a good sign that they got decent beauty shots. And everything that they're offering is kind of here. I don't really need to go anywhere else as far as I know. So that is positive. I think that they've done well on that. The other thing, and this wasn't in the graphic, but as far as best practices go, you always want to have as much add-on tchotchkes and garbage as you can, because that is really how you pad out sales of your campaigns. That's how you get to bigger numbers. That's what actually ends up kind of paying for this stuff, right? It's like at fast food places, they sell you that drink for $1.50 and it costs them 2 cents, right? So offering stickers that people can buy. They're buying a couple action figures. They add the sticker to it, right? And I know they had one on there, and that's a good move. The patch is a good move. You can tell people when they go and do on podcasting and say, look, even if you don't want to buy an action figure, just spend $9 on a patch. You've got to have a low-hanging fruit, just something that anybody could buy. But you need a lot of this kind of stuff. You're going to want T-shirts. You're going to want hats. You're going to want, digital posters, maybe real posters, because all those types of things, from the stickers and any kind of paper goods and any kind of stuff, that can all be printed up here in the United States. It can be put in an envelope and sent with a stamp, which means you can fulfill those without any, you can do them yourself, you can get them printed yourself, you can do all that stuff and put all that garbage out, and it's absolutely dirt cheap. And so if you're going to do a campaign, do as much of that stuff as you can take on, right? If it's just a matter of like the logos to a printer, and they crank out bumper stickers, and they crank out other stickers, and they crank out T-shirts and stuff like that, and posters and all that kind of garbage, right? Goes a long way. It's huge. You can make up a huge amount of your campaign goals with just that crap, right? And so these guys have a little bit of that, right? I would do trading cards with this stuff, especially if you're trying to sell characters, especially if because I saw that some of the characters have call signs, meaning they have names. And so if you're trying to do all that, just some of the stuff that you make can not only like further the brand, but you can also further the line. You can put out T-shirts with characters on them, character art. You can put trading cards with characters. You can do posters with characters. You can have a special deal where you get the trading card, you get the poster, you get the sticker, right? You get the T-shirt, and it's all got the same guy on it. And it's like, all that stuff, it's super simple, super easy. It does take a guy sitting at a desk doing that for a little bit of time. Totally worth it. And I think these guys with something like Patriot Force would benefit in that department as much as having the big variety, or even, you know, if, again, a standard figure, if you could come out with a standard guy who's $20. And remember, I tell people this all the time in regards to, you know, to getting things down to the $20 range. If that means he doesn't come with extra hands, he doesn't come with extra head, he doesn't come with some of the accessories, if it's just a guy in army fatigues and a t-shirt, right, and a can of beer or something, and he's relaxing or something, but it's only $15, that's what you got to make to get into that category. You got to scale all that stuff back. You got to, you know, if it means dumbing down the product in terms of the amount of things you include and stuff you do with it and the amount of paint apps you put on it, because these camouflage paint apps, these are pretty expensive. You got to like tampo all the way around the legs and the arms and stuff like that. This is pretty complicated figures they got going on here. You guys may not realize it, but this is kind of a this is a complex beast that they're trying to put together. In fact, I'm kind of surprised $34 is the price. I'd expect this to be even a little bit higher. I do like that they have launched this in without being afraid of like tariffs and what we're going to do, because guys, you're not going to see this for 2 years. No matter what they tell you the shipping time is, if they tell you the shipping time is December 26, it's not going to happen. There's setbacks, there's delays. The minute someone mentions the word Chinese New Year, add 3 years onto it, okay? That's the excuse that's used by everybody. And there's people who are like, well, we're almost ready with production. We're just waiting on Chinese New Year. And then it's May and they still haven't even shipped across the sea, right? So expect 2 years. So these guys, obviously, they don't know what's going to be going on in 2 years as far as the tariffs, and they don't care because they believe in the product, all right? So then let's just finally conclude this. Let's end this. I think I've said everything in terms of the marketing that can be said, something like this. Let's just talk about the actual figures themselves as far as being an action figure collector. So these guys are up against a lot of competition, right? G.I. Joe Classified, the big dog in the room. That's the thing that everybody's throwing their money into. Any money left over from that all goes to Valor versus Action Force. That's the Coke and the Pepsi, right? Sometimes there's room for an RC Cola in there. Well, that's Monster Force. Monster Force is modern military, but it's got a twist on it. Add vampires or add werewolves or add, I don't know, add something to it, but it's basically modern military with a little bit of a twist. How is Patriot Force going to fit in with G.I. Joe and Action Force? There's just no more oxygen left in the room for something like this, in my opinion. It's a tough sell. Maybe because it's a type of, the market is, I'm going to say kind of more that traditional military family, right-wing Republican, Christian kind of folk who, have always backed and believed in the U.S. military and the military tradition. There's a lot of those folks out there. And maybe a bunch of people will come out to support that because it's about that more so than it is about the action figure. That's a possibility. Also, Chris Garwich is helping them with this. He is the cat who works for Four Horsemen. He's their liaison with the Chinese factory. He did his own Kickstarter, his own toy line called Biblical Adventures. I purchased one of them. I was a backer. I reviewed it. If Chris Garwich is working on this, it will definitely happen. So you can back this, knowing that this is going to go forward. But his action figure line similarly was not necessarily heavy on the action figure, it was heavy on the biblical thing. It had like a Christian thing or a Judeo thing. I mean, I bought the Moses. You can't get any more Judeo than that. So maybe he had sales to people who don't even buy action figures, but maybe they're of a kind of a religious bent. Maybe these guys will tap into that same market or type of market of people who aren't necessarily action figure collectors, but they're really into supporting military toys or ideas or properties or franchises, that kind of thing. So maybe that is how these guys get funded. Maybe that's how they make it. Maybe that's their market, in which case they're going to have to go on some podcasts that maybe have anything to do with toys. And maybe it turns out that there could be a huge untapped market for that. Again, maybe this is something that maybe it's something that the U.S. Army backs and seeds him with, and puts in a big order, and they plan to use these as from their marketing department, just like the U.S. Army figures I talked about before. Anyways, those are kind of my thoughts on this, that it's going to be a heavily competitive market for 1/12 modern military guys with so much other stuff going on. But maybe they've got that some sort of patriotic support that's going to push them to the finish line. It's going to be interesting to see. They've got 33 days as of the posting of this video, and I'm going to check it every day, and I'm going to see where they get. But as always, I wish these guys the best of luck. I believe in indie companies. I do not believe in the big dogs, the Super 7s, the Funkos, the Hasbros, even the Mattels, because these are all giant corporations that are owned by other corporations, and none of these corporations, in my opinion, are on the level. They all have something about them that is, in my opinion, not good, and so I say stop giving them your money and give it to guys like these. If you wanted to support indie guys doing military figures and you were thinking that it's G.I. Joe is the way to go, stop giving it to G.I. Joe. Give it to Patriot Force. That's it for this episode. Thanks to everybody who made it this far into the video. You subscribe on your time. Our time together, folks. We stay charged.